Happening now, all state prisons are on lockdown after a fiery race-charged riot that left 175 inmates injured. Our Alex Michelson spoke with former prisoners for an inside look at just how intense the racial tensions are and the overcrowding issues are. Alex.
Hey, Jim, good evening. Now, right now, all 55 California state prisons are on lockdown. That means that about 165,000 inmates are confined to their cell and nowhere else for 23.5 hours a day. Now, prison officials here say that they hope that that will help them control what can be an overcrowded, racially charged breeding ground that, as we saw this weekend, can turn very ugly. Parts of the state prison in Chino catch on fire. 175 inmates are injured, 55 seriously. Prison officials say all this chaos started as a race riot between blacks and Latinos.
Tell me what you're doing over here. You're just relaxing?
We're the white guys.
Are you the white gang?
That's right.
Yeah. Do all the different races have different areas?
Yeah, that's like the black area over there, the Norteño, white area over here, yeah. Indians over there. We keep it segregated.
How come?
We don't want to program with them. Keep a clear line, pretty much. We just stay away from them. They stay away from us. Racist. We just don't want to live with them, you know? I don't want to live with them.
You look quite young. How old are you?
19.
19.
Yeah.
Oh, pretty good.
How did you hook up with these guys?
Yeah, we take care of our own.
But the Sureños are constantly under threat. In 2005, a race riot broke out here between 500 Southern Hispanic and black inmates. And it could happen again.
The racial tension is real strong in here due to the fact, you know, it's like it's territory. Blacks try to be the dominant one, you know. So when it's more others or Southsiders or whatever, they try to be more dominant.
In early 2006, interracial gang violence at one Los Angeles jail spread like wildfire throughout the entire LA County jail system. Fearful that new inmates coming from these jails could ignite the already tense situation at Tehachapi, prison officials have taken dramatic action.
Currently, we're on a modified lockdown. That's why you don't see anybody out here in the yard. The yard is basically all empty. Had it not been for the modified on right now, you would see up to 1,000 inmates out here in this yard.
Instead, those men are confined indefinitely in their cells and dorms. Some gang members see it as a countdown to disaster.
You know, you never know what's going to happen, you know. You just have to be ready at all times. If the time comes, you know, a person gets very violent, you know, very violent.
It's a reception facility. At 10 o'clock, there should be a bus coming in from San Bernardino County Jail. And I want to make sure that there isn't any problems or any tension between the races that are getting off that bus.
No, but it's carried over today. The San Bernardino sheriff told us that
it has carried over.
The blacks assaulted 2 Mexicans.
At San Bernardino?
At San Bernardino and sliced them up.
If a fight broke out, you'd have to just go with your homies. Well, with the Southsiders, they call them Southsiders, the Mexican guys. You help them.
In here, he's a Sureño in service to the Mexican mafia.
I might be from Baldwin Park. This other individual might be from El Monte. But when it comes down to us being as one, we're all united. We're all one race. You feel me?
I have a considerably easier job. All I have to do is describe reality. And the reality is that racial diversity produces tension, conflict, and hostility. If racial diversity were a strength, people would be drawn to it naturally. They'd seek it out. If diversity were a strength, you would never have minority neighborhoods because people would mix. But they don't. Left to themselves, people seek out the company of people like themselves. Now, you may be surprised to know that virtually every institution in Canada actually agrees with me that racial diversity is a source of conflict. They don't use the word conflict, instead they use the word racism. Now, racism, they will tell you, is a terrible, terrible thing. And they will also tell you that Canada is riddled with it. Now, I would point out to you that racism can be a problem only when there is racial diversity. In a homogeneous country, people don't even think about race. It's only when people of different races mix that racism becomes a problem. So please, remember this. The next time you open your newspaper and you read about racism, racial profiling, racial discrimination, bigotry, hate, all of these words that we hear so frequently, you are not hearing a listing of the strengths of diversity. you're hearing a listing of the weaknesses of diversity.
In Des Moines, Iowa, at the fairgrounds, there was a group of 30 to 40 people walking around saying that it was Beat Whitey Night. And so throughout the area of the fairgrounds, when people would come out of the fair, they were being attacked. Police were trying to stop it, asking them to move on, but they wouldn't move on. Like, people were interfering in that and everything. The police tried to use spray deterrent and a stun gun. It just wasn't working. It was a mob scene there. It was at this gas station, and a 17-year-old girl walked up and slapped them right in front of the police. Now, this type of thing happened all over, I guess. There was a man that was severely beaten. He has severe injuries to his eyes, his cheekbones, his nose.
I find it odd that it made national news, yet Kill a Nigger Day did not. What? What was that? You never heard of it. It was a planned Columbine-style attack. A couple of white students in a Pittsburgh school made a list of black students to shoot. Luckily, the planned attack was discovered and prevented before the would-be killers could follow through. My God, how could this not make the news? Actually, that isn't exactly what happened. What? Why would you? It didn't make the news because it was actually Kill a Cracker Day.
I, a white person in North America, have personally been discriminated against in both the United States and abroad. I grew up in Hawaii, the only state in the Union that is not majority white. In Hawaii, many of the local Hawaiians refer to white people, especially foreign white people, using the racial epithet haole as a way to demean, degrade, and distinguish themselves from white people, and I've been called this innumerable times. People of Hawaiian and Polynesian origin have gone out of their way to insult me. They've even attempted to start several fights with me on numerous occasions, simply because of my race. I've even been assaulted twice by Hawaiians because of my race. This phenomenon has become so commonplace in Hawaii that on the last day of summer before school gets out, this day is sometimes unofficially referred to as Kill a Haole Day, where non-white children are encouraged to harass and even to assault white children.
As neighborhoods change, a low-level war is brewing in communities across Southern California. It's a racial battle between black and Latino gang members. One community fed up with the violence is taking steps to end it. John Schwatter has our Fox 11 investigation.
Racial conflict like this between blacks and Latinos is ripping through Southern California. From South LA to Compton, Pomona to Pasadena, communities have witnessed troubling shifts in population, especially with Latinos moving into traditionally African-American neighborhoods.
I mean, they come over here and try to take over everything, you know. Any Mexican that come in our way, nigga, we gonna put them down. The Mexicans, homie. That's how I feel, homie.
But the racial conflict cuts both ways, including attacks by Latinos against blacks, spreading the grief all around. Her son, 18-year-old Zelvin Reyes, some say he killed in Highland Park defending a black friend who was being attacked by the Avenues, a Latino gang. That attack has produced no arrest. It came even after other members of the Avenues were jailed and charged with a string of hate crimes, including the murder of these two men in 1999 and 2000. All of this aimed at driving African Americans out of Highland Park. In LA County's most recent annual report, 62 hate crimes were reported against Latinos, 78% of the suspects there being black. And in 156 hate crimes against blacks, 73% of the suspects were Latino. But few Southern California leaders own up to the ugly facts of black on brown, brown on black violence stalking their streets.
Eventually they're going to have to step up and say, we have a problem here, and it's getting worse year after year.
To frame it as a police problem is a mistake. It is now a community problem.
The chief of police in Pasadena sees the disturbing trends and isn't afraid to talk about them.
In Pasadena, we have had over 60 incidents since the first of the year.
Have a seat, Raphael.
His officers out on the streets dealing with it.
They actually saw the two male black suspects approaching the lone Hispanic victim.
And just in time, they break up a suspected crime, arresting two blacks and finding a gun. But police don't always make it in time. This memorial in Pasadena marks where Chino Acevedo intervened, trying to stop two blacks from attacking an older Latino man.
And when he came to the aid of the initial victim being harassed by the group, an altercation occurred and he was shot and killed.
Now, racism is said to be so bad in Canada that every province and territory has at least two major bureaucracies to fight it: a Human Rights Commission and a Human Rights Tribunal. Then there is a Federal Human Rights Commission, there's the Canadian Race Relations Foundation, the National Anti-Racism Council of Canada, and countless city, local, and university bureaucracies, all trying to sniff out racism and fight it. Well, how well are they doing? The Ontario Human Rights Commission says racial discrimination and racism are pervasive and continuing. The Canadian Commission for UNESCO says racism imperils democracy. The Federal Human Rights Commission says hate, and in particular its manifestation on the internet, pose a serious threat to the social fabric of Canadian society. Now, I ask you, how can racial diversity be a strength if it gives rise to something that imperils democracy, that poses a serious threat to the social fabric of Canadian society?
Talking about these same problems. Now, how do I know that the white people know that we are going to come up with a solution to the problem? I know it because they have retina scans, they have what they call racial profiling, DNA banks, and they're monitoring our people to try to prevent the one person from coming up with the one idea. And the one idea is how we are going to exterminate white people, because that, in my estimation, is the only conclusion I have come to. We have to exterminate white people off of the face of the planet to solve this problem.
Police warn locals any retaliation over the attacks on those lifesavers wouldn't be tolerated. Obviously, the crowd today wasn't listening.
Look to the future, our Lord. The storm is coming now. Race wars. The sky darkens, night falls. The battle's coming now. Race calls. Carry on the fight till the day we die. Against the people that will kill us for the flags we fly. We won't surrender. We won't give in. We fight the fight, and we will win now. Stand up beside us. People now, mass graves. Join with you, stand up for your race and your nation too. We know the traitors are in our midst.
When a gang of black students attacked him yesterday. Asian community leaders say as many as 30 students were targeted over a 2-day period.
The attackers were allowed to run in the hallways during class time. They were searching class by class, looking for the Asian students they were looking for.
Ellen Simakawa says she's been addressing race relations with the school district for more than a year now.
These are clearly racially motivated attacks.
John Chen, executive director of the Chinatown Development Corporation, says out of 70 Asian students, only a fraction showed up for school today.
Only 10 students showed up for school today because all the kids are terrified to be in that school at this point in time.
Were assaulted last week by a group of African American students. They told police why they refused to go back to South Philadelphia High School.
We are afraid to get attacked after school and inside school, in the bathroom
around the school, around the hallway in school.